guys, and welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today, we will be discussing the season expectations for Real Madrid across all competitions, including La Liga, the Champions League, Supercopa de España, and the Copa del Rey. So, big old season for Real Madrid, and it's definitely going to be an exciting one. As well, I forgot the Club World Cup as well. So. Very, very stacked season, and this could be a very difficult season because it's 72 games, I believe, in total, and so there's going to be a whole new shift for Real Madrid this season, because it's going to be a really, really packed season. We're obviously beginning our season on against Atalanta, and I won't talk too much about that game because I do have a preview lined up for that before that game, but I do want to win that one. It's always nice to start the season off with a win, but I think the best way to start is by talking about La Liga, because last year we obviously won the league, and we won the league quite easily, I would say, with certain ease, but obviously Barcelona aren't going to just let us have it so easily. They're not just going to let us just walk away with the league once again this year. So I wouldn't be expecting such an easy win this year once again. And you know what Barcelona come up with, because Real Madrid have never gone back to back since 2008. So it's been a long time since Real Madrid have actually backed up the league with another one. So that's definitely the goal. You want to get this back-to-back league title, and with the transfers that we have made, I think that is the expectation. That is the bare minimum, to be totally honest. I do want to talk about Barcelona because we start with Barcelona. Barcelona have made some big transfers. Well, one big transfer anyway, in the signing of Dani Olmo. Now, I've made my thoughts clear on Dani Olmo. I really like him as a player. Me and Sean have talked about him as a potential signing for Real Madrid in the years past. I think he's a really good player, a really technical player, and I do think he's very gifted at a lot of aspects of football. I just don't know what problem it solves for Barcelona realistically. Obviously, Pedri's normally injured, so in terms of that, you don't really experience a drop off from Pedri. So maybe that's what Barcelona are trying to get. But in my opinion, Barcelona had bigger problems, including the defensive midfield, which they still haven't solved, and as well as the left wing situation, which again they still haven't solved that. So I think that's going to be quite interesting to see how Dani Olmo plays. Maybe he does play on the left wing. I don't see him as a left wing. I don't think he's a great winger, to be honest, but maybe that's how Barcelona want to line up. Maybe they want to line up with the midfield four, with Gavi on the left. I don't know what Gavi's situation is. Obviously, he came off that ACL injury last year, so I don't know what Gavi's situation is. But obviously, Gavi's a lot more athletic than Dani Olmo or Pedri. So maybe they want to play Gavi off the left. I don't think that's too bad of an option, to be totally honest. But yeah, I think that would be quite interesting to see what Barcelona do. Obviously, they've still got Rafinha, and Rafinha might play on the left. They might play Ferran Torres. I doubt that. I don't know why Ferran's still there. I don't think he's going to play too much. But the only other signing that they've made out and out is Pau Victor. Real Madrid fans obviously saw what Pau Victor was about when they scored 2 goals against us in the preseason El Clasico. I didn't know about him, to be totally honest. I assumed he was just some La Masia kid who I just didn't hear about. Turns out he did play for Girona last year. He didn't play for Girona last year, but he was a Girona player. He played for Barcelona last year on loan, but Barcelona signed him permanently for 2.7 million. Sure, fine enough. Like he played well enough. I've looked at his stats from the third tier the other day. I think he got something like 25 goals, which is no, he had 18 goals. Sorry, for Barcelona last year. So I think it was quite interesting to see what Pau Victor was about. But that was intriguing. But I don't know what Pau Victor is really about. Apart from the game we saw against him maybe they want to play him on the left, but from what I've heard, he is a centre forward. So I don't know. You saw he's a bit more dynamic, and maybe he can strike up a partnership with Lewandowski. But I don't know. To be put it plainly, I don't know. Obviously, the Nico Williams deal has completely fallen through, and that's really funny. But alas, that's maybe that's a good thing for Barcelona. Maybe it's not, but it's not going to happen from now on, and so that'll be really interesting to see what Nico does for this season. I hope he stays at Athletic Club, because they do have European football. They're Copa del Rey winners, and they deserve to keep him. Yeah, I mean, for Barcelona, I just don't know what to expect, to be totally honest. They've had a decent enough pre-season. They didn't extend Joao Felix. I don't know what the situation is with Joao Cancelo. They haven't made him permanent, and I doubt they will, but maybe they will. I don't know. They didn't sign back Sergio Roberto or Marcos Alonso, and they lost Oriol Romeu. They also lost Mark Yu and Chadi Riyad. So they've got rid of a few players, few La Masia players, but alas, I don't think they've made too many big deals. They've got a couple kids coming through, who we should expect to see this year, which is Hector Ford. We should see Marc Casado too much this season, and then Marc Bernal as well. Those three, I think, are due to play this season for Barcelona. So that's something interesting. Obviously, they'll hope that Pau Cubarsí develops as well. But obviously, like I said, their midfield is, I think, the main concern for them, because if I'm Real Madrid and we're playing in an El Clasico, I think we can absolutely tear through their midfield, to be totally honest, because they don't have an out-and-out defensive midfielder. If they play De Jong and Pedri and Dani Olmo in a midfield three, that midfield will get eaten by Bellingham, by Valverde, by Camavinga, by Tchouaméni. Those four will eat in that midfield. And so I'd be really intrigued to see how that works, because there's no defensive cover there. I don't think De Jong's a particularly good defensive tracker. He does tend to lose his man quite a bit, and so if you've got Bellingham running in from the midfield, that could be a nightmare for Barcelona once again. Obviously with Hansi Flick, I really rate Hansi Flick. I think you guys know that, and I was a bit annoyed to see him go to Barcelona, but it's a completely different kettle of fish going to Barcelona than Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, most of those players are already trained for high intensity football. Barcelona, I'm not sure at this point whether they are. I don't know. Lewandowski at age 36, is he, or 35? Is he conditioned for that? He's obviously a fantastic athlete, but there's only so much a 35-year-old can take. Is Lamine Yamal or is Pedri, are they capable of running non-stop? They may be. I'm not saying they're not. I don't know if that. These are just questions. And we saw last year in El Clasico, and in many other games. The Villarreal game comes to mind, where Villarreal scored 5 against Barcelona. I don't see a way in which Barcelona can run that high line, because I don't see a way this back four really holds up too well. And especially if you play against Real Madrid, it's the most obvious tactic I've seen in my life. Real Madrid are going to sit back and counter with Mbappe, with Vini, with Rodrigo, with Bellingham, and they will eat so well in that game, if that's how it works. And if Barcelona can't work that defensive stability out well enough, then they will get torn apart completely. So those are some of the questions I have for Barcelona. I don't see Barcelona as too much of a threat this season if Real Madrid play to our best. But we saw 2 years ago Barcelona had an excellent defence. I don't see Ter Stegen doing that again, because that was a freak season from Ter Stegen. The 2 times Real Madrid have had that title taken off them in the recent years, a freak season from Ter Stegen and a freak season from Oblak. Stuff like that just doesn't happen more than once. So you've got to say I would be confident in playing against Barcelona, to be totally honest. But let's talk about Atleti as well, because I think it's appropriate. We talked about Atleti last year, but I didn't really go through them too much. But I think the transfers that they have made this season have been very, very interesting. I think first of all they lost a few guys. They lost Memphis Depay on a free. Mario Hermoso left on a free, and then they lost Stefan Savic, Gabriel Palista. They also got rid of Gagla Soyuncu and Alvaro Morata. Now that's an interesting one. I didn't understand why they sold Morata. I thought Morata had a good season last year and he had a good Euros. That's a good pickup for AC Milan. But sure, that's fine. But where they've been active is obviously in the transfer department. Obviously, they also lost Samuel Omorodion. I can't say his name, but they lost him to Chelsea for like 30 million, and then immediately they signed Conor Gallagher back. I think that's a good signing. I think he fits, but what Atleti want to do perfectly, because he will just run and do what Simeone wants him to do, and he does exactly the thing that they wants because he can score the goals that they need to do, and that's probably what Simeone wants to a T. So I think that's an excellent signing from Atleti to get Conor Gallagher. I think the Javi Guerra signing has fallen apart at this point, which I think is good for us because I don't want Javi Guerra to go to Valencia to Atleti. I think he's a good midfielder, and he would fit Atleti really well. But I'm really glad he doesn't go to Atleti. Then I think the centre back signing of Robin Lenormand is a really good signing. I think he's a really top player. And he showed at the Euros. He's been showing it for Real Sociedad these last 2 years in particular. I think he's been excellent. And so I think Atleti definitely needed some new centre backs because they couldn't just run Stefan Savic and Axel Witsel again this season. So Lenormand brings a little bit more freshness, and he's 27. You know, this isn't a young guy either. So I think he brings experience as well. Alexander Solat, he obviously scored 4 against us last year. He's sure. I don't think he'll do particularly too well, to be honest. But he's a target man. He's a big guy up front for Atleti. I think that'll be completely fine for Atleti, what they want. They'll obviously have João Felix back as well. But the main signing obviously is Julian Alvarez. I've obviously been preaching for Alvarez to come to Real Madrid over these last few years. Obviously now he's going to Atleti. I don't want him. I don't want anything to do with him. I think it's a very interesting signing for Atleti. One in which if this messes up, I think they could have big problems in terms of finances. But I do think this is a perfect Antoine Griezmann replacement because it does look like Antoine Griezmann may be on his way out to LAFC. So, I think, listen, Alvarez, I think, will really fits them. He'll run for them. He will score goals. He'll link up whenever needed. This is literally Antoine Griezmann. As a younger, maybe a little bit worse, but I think this is Antoine Griezmann, literally. And I think that's what Atleti really wanted in a striker, someone who's going to work hard no matter what. And so I think this really fits Atleti. Whether it works or not, that's a completely different kettle of fish, but maybe it does. Maybe it does, and Atleti strike gold once again with a striker. But 80 million is a big risk, and if you're going to lose Antoine Griezmann this season, it has to work. If Julian Alvarez does not work for Atleti, then you could have big problems because you're back to trusting, I don't know, Correa again. You're back to trusting Angel Correa out front for you once again, and so that's a really difficult situation for Atleti if it does not work. But you've just got to hope that it works for if you're an Atleti fan. But for me, I want to see Atleti fall apart because I don't like them very much. Let's move on to the fourth and final team we'll be talking about, which is obviously Girona. Now, listen, Girona's title credentials fell apart last year, but I don't mind that too much. They've they played well enough, but listen, they lost a few players this summer. They lost 4 key players, 5 key players. Okay, right. Let's go through this. They lost Artem Dovbyk. I don't think he's irreplaceable, to be totally honest. He was fantastic last season, but I think the Euros showed him to be a bit of a one-season wonder, to be totally honest. I want to see a little bit more from him, at Roma. They got good money for him. 30 million's decent enough. Then they also lost Alex Garcia to Bayer Leverkusen for 18 million. That's a big loss. That's a huge loss. He's been fantastic for a couple of years now. I think you losing him, losing your captain, losing the heart of your team. That's a huge loss for Girona. One in which I think that might be their biggest loss. They lost Savinho. Sure, you can't really do anything about that. You lose him to Man City, and you didn't even get a fee for him. But what can you do? That's just the luck of the trade when you're a Man City fee the club. They also lost Jan Couto. He obviously didn't get a fee for him either. That's a huge loss as well. He was fantastic for them last year, and I think he's going to be fantastic for Dortmund this year. That's definitely one to watch for you guys. I think you guys should look at him, watch him this year for Dortmund, because I think he could have a similar season to what Ashraf Hakimi had a couple of years ago. So, yeah, definitely look at Jan Couto this season. They also lost Eric Garcia to Barcelona. That might come back. I don't know what the situation is with Eric Garcia, but that's a huge loss. But in the signings category, they've made a few big ones. Oriol Romeu, I think that's a good signing for them. Definitely someone that they know well, so that's fine. But I think the main signings, Abel Ruiz from Braga, a former Barcelona youth player. I think he's a good striker. Maybe he didn't have a great season at Braga last year, but a small fee, 9 million. I think that's a good deal for them. They signed Ladislav Krejci from Sparta Prague, 8 million. We don't know much about him right now, 25 years old, but maybe he makes a name for himself this year. Alejandro Frances from Real Zaragoza. I think this is a really fantastic signing. I've kept track of this guy for a couple of years now. I'm surprised he hasn't moved from Zaragoza. And I think at 3.5 million, he's 21 years old. I think he can play centre back and right back. This is a really good signing, I think, from Girona, and definitely I think he could make a name for himself this year. Really, I think he could. And then Donny van der Beek, I think this is a really good signing. 500,000. It's a very much a hit or a miss signing. You don't know what's going to happen, but if it hits, then you could be in for a big treat if you're a Girona fan. For 500k. That's a really good transfer for Girona. And then they also signed Brian Hill from Tottenham. I think that's a really good player for them to bring in at this stage, 23 years old. He could definitely provide them something that Savinho provided. So you can see they've gone like for like practically in this. They've gone for Abel Ruiz instead of Dovbyk. They brought in Krejci and Francis to cover for Garcia, Donny van der Beek and Romeu to come in for Alex Garcia, and then Brian Hill comes in for Savinho. So a couple big transfers. Obviously they kept Sigankov last year as well. So that's a really good keep for them. But yeah, that's fantastic from Girona. But I'm a bit nervous for them because first year of Champions League football, it could sink them a little bit. So, listen, if I was a Girona fan, I wouldn't be too pleased with the summer transfers because I don't think they've brought enough depth. But I guess we'll see. We will see how Girona play this year. But yeah, I think those three teams. Listen, I think Barcelona are a good team. They will drive us to the end. This year, I don't think it will be as easy as last year, but I don't think there's any expectation other than to win the league this year. We just got to do it. Simple as. And then let's move on. Let's move on to the Supercopa de España, because I think that's a big tournament. I always want to win the Supercopa because it's a direct smash against Barcelona practically every year. Barcelona or Atleti. So let's see what happens. But the four teams that are involved this year are going to be us against Barcelona or Athletic Club or Mallorca. Those are the four teams involved. Listen, I'm intrigued. I want to see us win this tournament. I love winning this tournament. I think it's a great tournament. Maybe not a great tournament. It shouldn't be held in Saudi, but I still think I really like this tournament. And I think Barcelona hopefully will be facing us in the final. But I think always good to get the first silver of the season. I don't know who we're playing first. Let's have a look. We are playing Mallorca first, so yeah, obviously a tough game to begin with, but I would back us to win that, to be totally honest. So yeah, I expect us to win the Supercopa, but obviously things happen in the Supercopa. It's a one-off game. Things can happen. You lose a game and suddenly you're not gonna win the tournament. So nothing you can do if you lose. But I really want us to win that. And then let's move on to the Copa del Rey as well, because a big tournament this year. I think we should win this. Listen, we've got the squad depth now to that in this situation. I think we have to play. We can play Arda Güler, we can play Brahim Diaz, we can play Endrick, we can play on the midfield. We can play Modric, Ceballos, we can play Mario Martin, we can play in defense. We can play Fran Garcia, Lucas Vasquez. We can play all these guys. This whole lineup, this new lineup, and we've got backup goalkeeper in Lunin now as well. So listen, I think we've got enough depth at this point, to the point where I think we should expect to win the Copa del Rey. But Real Madrid is just they've got something wrong with them. But every time they play in the Copa del Rey, they play against the third division side, and it's just not going to work. But you've just got to expect no less from Real Madrid, that they can find a way to make it work. So listen, hopefully a Copa del Rey win is coming, but you know what happens with Real Madrid and Copa del Rey, they will find a way to lose, and yeah, it'll be disappointing. But what can you do? Let's move on, because it's the big one, the Champions League. This is the Real Madrid's favourite tournament. We'll be obviously defenders right now. Listen, new format is very interesting. It's the group stage with 36, with a single league. Obviously, if you guys don't know, we'll be playing 8 matches instead of 6. Against random teams, so we won't be playing reverse home and away anymore. So it will be 8 different teams. That'll be intriguing. I don't know if we can play Man City in the group stage, but that'll be interesting to see if we can. And obviously that's very interesting to see. But we want to be winning. We want to be winning. No doubt about that. So here it is. Top 8 teams qualify immediately for the round of 16. The 9 to 24th place teams will enter a playoff for the remaining 8 knockout places. So, listen, I don't want to be cocky and say Real Madrid are the best team in Europe, but they are the best team in Europe. We have to be in the top 8 teams. Listen, I don't mind if we're 1st or 8th, to be totally honest, but we have to be getting in the top 8 places, because I don't want to be playing extra games in the playoffs against I don't know, let's say a trip up game against Porto. Let's say you don't want to be playing against Porto in a scruffy game, and in like, I don't know, in February. You don't want to be playing Porto in those games, because you just want to get an easy ride to the round of 16 and play against, I don't know, Besiktas or something. You don't want to be playing against Porto in the round in the playoff game. So a top 8 finish is no less than I expect. Beyond that, it's normal. Beyond that, and that group stage, and then it's normal. But obviously, that's extra games. 2 extra games is definitely huge in these early stages of the season. But Real Madrid definitely do have a squad to compete. Listen, I expect Real Madrid to go far in this tournament. Go far as the draw takes them, to be totally honest. I believe we're the best team in Europe. I do. I think we're better than Man City. Right now, I saw the Man City Community Shield win. I didn't think they were too remarkable in that game, to be totally honest. But I might be wrong. I might, Man City might just be warming up, and it is a Community Shield game, so like, who cares? But I think it could be a good season for Real Madrid in this tournament, especially with the squad depth that we have. I think we should be able to compete. But yeah, 100%. Semi-final minimum is what I always say, but I think, to be totally honest, as long as we don't face Man City up until the final, I think the final should be the minimum. And if Real Madrid's in the final, I think Real Madrid always win. So yeah, practically what I'm saying is Real Madrid win La Liga, Real Madrid win Copa del Rey, Real Madrid win Supercopa, Real Madrid win the Champions League, Real Madrid win the Super Cup against Atalanta on Wednesday, and then the final tournament, the Club World Cup. Damn Club World Cup, eh? It's always this stupid Club World Cup, but you know what? It's even harder now. It's actual tournament now. We're playing against serious teams now because we are now going to be playing against Chelsea, Manchester City. There will be another Champions League team. Bayern Munich, Inter, PSG, Porto, Benfica. Three more undecided teams. Al Hilal, Urawa Red Diamonds from Japan. This is an Asian team, I believe. Two more Asian teams. Al Ali, Wydad Casablanca. Two more African teams. Monterrey from Mexico, Seattle Sounders, Leon. One more team from the North American conference. Then a U.S. host team, Palmeiras, Flamengo, Fluminense, three more CONMEBOL teams, and then Auckland City. So those are the teams that we'll be playing in the Club World Cup. Definitely more interesting, but it's just more games. It's more games, and I just don't understand. And well, you don't need this, but FIFA need the money, I guess. It's going to take a toll on these players this season, but what can you do, eh? But once again, I expect to win. The players might be dead and buried by that point, but I still expect to win. But I wouldn't be too sad if we lost, to be totally honest, because at that point, I think the players just want to be on the beach. So I don't blame them if they lose, but I want to win in the Club World Cup and extend our record in that competition, even if the more European teams are integrated into that competition. But let's talk about some of the player expectations, because Real Madrid have got a big squad now. I'm gonna run through the squad quickly, and let's get through the what I expect from each and every player this season. It might be numerical values, especially for the attackers, but from some of the guys, I don't think that's that much. So I will be talking about some Castilla players, but some of them I won't be. So let's begin. Thibaut Courtois. I want Thibaut Courtois to be the best goalkeeper in Spain, minimum, and then I want him to be the best goalkeeper in the world. Not too much to ask for, right? But I think Courtois can do it. I think he showed that he's actually come back better from the ACL injury, and I think he showed that he's equally as good. I don't think he's lost a step, and I wanted to keep the clean sheets. I want him to get some clean sheets this season, because the defense has definitely got better. So Courtois, another fantastic season. Andrew Lunin, please leave, brother. Please, for your own good, please leave. Because listen, I want him to get Copa del Rey games. I want him to get La Liga games, some of them dead rubber games. I want him to get Champions League dead rubbers. But at the end of the day, you've just got to leave, man. He's too good to be backup goalkeeper. Even if it is at Real Madrid, I think he's too good. I think he can be a starter goalkeeper at a top 6 Premier League side. That isn't named Manchester City or Liverpool. You know, I think he's that good. And so, listen, Andrew Lunin, for your own good, please leave, bro. Please leave. Let's talk about the defense quickly. Joao Martinez recently got an ACL. Get well soon, bro. It's so sad, man. Like, he's just made it into the first team, and this is what happens. It's just like it's an absolute joke. Dani Carvajal, another fantastic season. Stay off the gluten, brother. Stay off the gluten, and then we're talking about a fantastic season. But yeah, another FIFA Pro World 11 level season. I think he was the best right back in the world last year. Keep it up and keep off that gluten. And then Militao, a big season back off injury. I want you to show some of that form you were showing in the 2022 Champions League run. I want him to be this imperious defender. I want him to show the levels that, got me believing that this is the guy to take us into the promised land for the next few years. So yeah, big season from Eder Militao, and he's gonna have to step it up because, David Alaba's out, Nacho has left. He is gonna have to take up the bulk of these minutes. So big season for Eder Militao. David Alaba, I want him to ease back up off of injury, but when he comes back, I want him to be ready, fit and ready to come back into the squad. So yeah, big season from David Alaba when he comes back. Jesus Vallejo, I want Vallejo to be a trusty when he comes back. I want him to be a solid enough defender, Nacho type. I want him to be able to play left back, right back, centre back, defensive midfield, and goalkeeper if needed. I want him to be absolutely ready for anything that is thrown at him, and so I want him to play like it's a contract year. Fran Garcia, big improvement I need from him. I need him to be more defensively solid. I want him to be less chaotic. I want him to be ready to take on anything, and I want him to be a big super sub for us to have in the locker. If Ferland Mendy's not, we obviously need some more attacking firepower. I want him to prove that we don't need Alphonso Davies next year. So yeah, big season from Fran Garcia. Centre back, Antonio Rudiger. I want him to continue to be the best centre back in the world. 100%. I want him to be the best centre back in the world, and I think he can be. So yeah, huge season from Antonio Rudiger needed. Ferland Mendy to be the best one-on-one defender in the world, and I think he can 100% be that. Jacobo Ramon, I want him to be ready if he's called up on, but I doubt it. Let's move on to the midfield. Tchouaméni. I think Tchouaméni can be the best defensive midfielder that isn't named Rodri this year, and I think he can prove that. He just has to make sure that he's ready to play centre back when he's needed, and I think that defensive marking has got to go up a little bit. I think he can also score a few more goals this year, whether it's from long shots or it's from off of corners. I think with Arda Güler pinpointing him off corners, I think that can be a huge step up for him. Camavinga, I want you to earn that starting spot by the end of this year. I think this is his season. He's been a fan favourite for what? He's been here for 4 years. That's so crazy to me, isn't it? Like, that is so crazy. By the end of the season, that would have been his 4th year at Real Madrid. That is so mental. That is so mental. But alas, Camavinga is this has to be a season. He has to work his way into the squad and make sure that he's ready, because he's going to be a huge player for us this year. Fede, keep it up, bro. Keep it up and get those goals back up, because last season, obviously, he scored a few goals last year, but I want him to get back up to what he was before. And it's not long. It's not long until Fede takes that captain's armband. So I'm ready for Fede to take that armband soon. Jude, a goal scoring season, I expect, but I don't need the same level as last year. Let's just say, I'm going to say 10 goals, 10 assists from Jude Bellingham this season. Not as good as last year, but I want him to take a deeper role this year, because I doubt we're going to play the diamond this year unless things go tits up with 4-3-3. So Jude Bellingham as a deeper midfielder, I think 10 goals, 10 assists, still bursting into the box, still providing all that. But I think Jude Bellingham, 10 goals, 10 assists, I think that's more than possible. Luka Modric, I want him to provide that veteran presence. I want him to be the midfield metronome that Toni Kroos was, or at least a level of what he was. And I think that's what Luka Modric should do. Provide those minutes when possible. Get the contract next year and to continue at Real Madrid. I want him to do that. I want him to play well. I want Luka Modric to be that guy for us this year. So I'm really excited for Luka Modric. Arda Güler, I think this is a huge season for him. I want him to fight for that starting spot, but I know maybe it might not happen, but I want him to be the main set piece taker by the end of the year. I want, let's say, I don't need 10 goals for him. Listen, whatever amount of goals he gets, but I want the assist total to be at least, let's say, 10. 10 assists minimum. I think that's more than achievable, especially if he's taking corners and pinpointing it onto Tchouaméni and Militao's heads. So yeah, I think Arda Güler could have a really good season. Lucas Vazquez, I need a goal from you this season, bro. I need him to continue that goal scoring streak. Even if he is at right back, I need him to continue it, because he's scoring big goals every year. So Lucas Vazquez, keep it going, and Carvajal a little bit older. You're going to play a little bit more minutes, Lucas, and so I want Lucas Vazquez to be ready. Dani Ceballos. Listen, last year wasn't a great year for Dani Ceballos, but I still believe in him. I still think he can be a decent enough midfielder, and so whenever we need to come on and bring some more energy in that midfield to play against Atleti, I want Dani Ceballos to be coming in and lashing into tackles, and I want him to be ready, be that aggressive midfielder that I know he can be, and be that quality on the ball that I want him to be. So yeah, big season for Dani Ceballos. Mario Martin, I think Mario Martin can be a a solid enough defensive midfielder. Just improve that defensive stability, Mario. You know, those defensive instincts need to improve, but apart from that, have a good season, Mario. Nico Paz, I think Nico, leave, bro. Just leave. Find a loan or leave on a permanent, because I don't see the pathway for Nico Paz this season. I think he's too good to be, you know, riding the bench for this whole season. So, Nico, please find a club. I don't know what would be a good club for you at this stage. Espanyol, maybe? I don't know. Espanyol always seems to do our youngsters pretty well. So, Nico Paz, Espanyol, I think that's a good move for you, but we'll see what happens there. Then, the attackers. We'll start with Brahim Diaz. I think Brahim, simple enough. I think, let's say 10 goals and assists minimum off the bench. Let's say 15. Let's push him. 15 goals and assists off the bench. I think this could be a huge season for Brahim Diaz, because he provides us with something that no other attacker does, with that pressing and with that just pure energy. That's a fireball off the bench, and I think Brahim Diaz, I really want him to succeed at Real Madrid. I don't want him to be a casualty next year. So huge season for Brahim Diaz. Then let's talk about some of the others. Juan Latasa, sure, I don't know. I don't think Latasa can make it at this point. So you know, Getafe is waiting, bro. But yeah, Jeremy de Leon, another development season for him, and continue playing for Puerto Rico. That's so cool, man. I love how we have a Puerto Rican guy on our team. But, you know, I think he could be a good Castillo player this year and help Raul's side, because they definitely need some more quality in their team. Alvaro Rodriguez, I want him to leave. I don't think he's going to make it at Real Madrid. I think Girona could use him. I think he is from Girona. So, you know, Alvaro, find a club, because there's a lot of clubs that could use his skill set of, you know, a big body up front. So yeah, definitely big one for Alvaro. Then Endrick, I think this could be a good season for you. There's a lot of minutes up for stake. You can play Copa del Rey games, you can play Champions League games, you can play La Liga games, you can play Supercopa games. I think this could be a good season for Endrick. Let's say 10 goals. 10 goals, simple. 10 goals. That's not too hard. It's not too hard at all. Or let's say 10 goals and assists. Listen, 10 goals and assists I think is more than achievable. And you're the only striker in the squad at the end of the day, apart from Alvaro and Juan Latasa. Listen, you're the only striker in the squad. Go ahead and prove it. So, yeah, big season for Endrick. Then, the big three. Vini, Mbappe, Rodrigo. Let's start with Rodrigo. This is make or break for Rodrigo's Real Madrid career. I think he can definitely prove it. I want 30 goals and assists from him this season. I don't think it's too much to ask from him, because he's been consistently giving us 20 over these last few years. I think he can easily get to 30. If he just shows that little bit more consistency, he can get to 30. So yeah, big season for Rodrigo. And you know, speaking about someone consistently getting 20, Vinny's been consistently getting 40. This season, I think Vinny could go up a level, because I think Vinny, we've always been saying Vinny's consistently getting 40, but he can get 10 more goals, because he still misses big chances. And so I still believe Vinny can get 50 goals and assists next year. I truly believe it. I think Vinny can get 25 goals, 25 assists. Listen, with Mbappe on his team now, with a little bit more shot creation, with a little bit more scoring ability up front, I still think Vinny can do it. I think this could be the year. And Vinny's scoring rate last year was incredible. He was just injured. So, you know, this could be the year where Vinny really puts it all together, gets those assists, gets those goals, gets 50 goals and assists. And speaking about Kylian, listen, 40 goals. I know you guys might be saying, no, that's impossible. I want 30 goals in La Liga next year. If you are Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo's heir, I want to see you give 30 goals next year in La Liga. Cristiano used to give 50, alright? Cristiano used to give 50. I don't want to see any less than 30 from Kylian next year. And he consistently does it in Liga 1. Listen, translate it to La Liga and show us that you are that guy, Kylian. And then, you know, obviously you can give as many assists as you want, I don't care. But, you know, the main thing is score 30 goals in La Liga next year. And here's the big one. I want him to take us to the Champions League final. Prove that Real Madrid needs you, Kylian. Prove it. Prove that Real Madrid are better off with you than without you. Because this is a huge season for Kylian Mbappe and his legacy. Because if he doesn't win this year, after all those years of dilly-dallying with PSG, after all those years of messing about with Real Madrid winning 2 Champions League without having Kylian Mbappe, if he comes to Real Madrid after they won a Champions League and Real Madrid do not win the Champions League, there's a lot of narrative started about Kylian Mbappe. So prove them wrong, Kylian, and show them that Real Madrid do need you. But that is it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the season expectation video. We'll be back with the Atalanta preview. But that is it for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.